Welcome back, everybody. I'm Glenn.
I'm Michael.
This is Legally Speaking, and today we're going to talk about maybe what you shouldn't tell your beneficiaries about your estate plan. So, my video went away.
Yep, a little technical difficulty there.
Yeah,
and we're back.
hit a button there. All right, we're back. So I think congratulations are in order to start out the video. You are back.
Back in office. Little to no sleep.
Yeah.
It's all right though. Comes with the territory.
So anybody that doesn't know, your wife had a baby, it's been 3.5 weeks now?
Yep. Spot on. March 6th.
Baby boy.
Yep. Got one of each now.
That's good. Is he ready to take over?
I don't know. He's got a lot of tears right now.
He's ready.
Yeah.
So
he's doing good. Mom's doing good. So
that's good.
Just no sleep.
Well, if when he gets older, what types of things do you think you ought to tell him about your estate plan, or not tell him, or do you think there's things that you should or you shouldn't?
Yeah, I think I would definitely want to let him know if he's named as an agent on one of my power of attorneys, whether that's property or healthcare. My wife and I are together and we both get in an accident and both become incapacitated, then I'm going to want to have my backup agent be aware that they have the right to act on my behalf. I probably want to discuss that with him or my daughter before I nominate them as agent to make sure that they're willing to act. I don't know if I would share account information with them other than just let them know where my accounts may be. That way they know where to start the fishing expedition to see if they are beneficiaries on any bank accounts or retirement accounts and the like.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about this before we started recording, I was thinking there's things that I think would be mandatory, and there's things that I think would be maybe optional about what you should share with your beneficiaries about your plan. And I think that's going to come down to a personal decision. But the main thing that I tell people is you need to make sure that somebody knows where these documents are other than you. So if I do an elaborate estate plan and I hide those somewhere in my house and I'm the only one that knows where those are, that's not going to do anybody any good when I die, because I'm not going to be able to tell them where they are. So that, to me, I think is the one must of all of it, is somebody needs to know where to get these documents if they need them. I think anything else is going to be a matter of personal preference, what you want to tell beneficiaries, what you don't want to tell beneficiaries.
Yeah, I think it's very important, because if you have original documents in your possession and you pass away and no one can find them, then in Illinois, it's presumed that you destroyed those documents. So like you said, if you hide those documents up in an attic somewhere at your house and no one ever finds them, it's equivalent to you have nothing. Your estate plan just went out the window. All of that preparation and planning that you did is all for naught at that point.
And I've been on those scavenger hunts before when we're looking for safe deposit box key or planning documents, something like that. It's not any fun. So just knowing where it is, I think, is a good start. And then, some of those optional things, like I tell people a lot that they need to create a list of what they own and where it's owned, and, accounts, passwords, statements, things like that. So how are we going to get at those things? And if they've created that list, it'd be a good place to put it with the planning documents, I think, and just have side notes to the executor that you've nominated or the trustee that you've nominated, so that they know what to do and what they need to deal with. But whether or not you want to share that with the beneficiaries, I think depends on, unique circumstances.
Sure. I think it would be good in most situations to provide a copy of a POA, a power of attorney, to your successor agent so that they have that copy available in the event there is an emergency. It's likely that medical professionals will have that on file already as long as you've taken that step and gotten that copy on your medical file. But absent a power of attorney, I mean, you don't need to share your trust document or your last will and testament with the ultimate beneficiaries. That's something that they can look into when the time is ripe.
Yeah, and I think some of that depends on uh, position in life, things like that. You know, my kids right now are 11 and 7. I'm not going to share details of my bank account, things like that with them at this point. But maybe 15 years from now, you know, if we're still in the same position with our family, I might start to say, okay, you know, here's where my checking account is. Here's I've got a savings account here, or I've got a retirement account. You know, these are listed as beneficiaries to you, or whatever the case may be. I may start to share some of that when they become responsible enough to do it, or if they're not responsible at that point, I probably wouldn't. You know, I'd share it with somebody else. Maybe I need to update my documents at that point. But I think that's going to be personal preference. I think I'm not going to share anything but here's where they are when you need them, to I'm going to sit down and I'm going to talk about all this. We're going to talk about here's copies of the documents, here's where I keep them, here's all of my account information, here's all of my passwords, here's et cetera, et cetera. And here's why I did these things. You know, maybe I'm going to give 80% to one child and 20 to the other. You know, I don't know. Maybe I want to explain that to them. Maybe I don't. maybe I want them to guess. I don't know.
Right. And I think that goes back to knowing what you have, knowing where your accounts are, knowing what life insurance policies you have. Take an inventory of that if you haven't already. And I think that's a good list to keep with your estate planning documents so that there's not a life insurance policy that goes unclaimed because your beneficiaries didn't know that you took out a policy in 1998 on XYZ life. So I think it's good to have that inventory, whether that's a digital inventory or whether that's a paper inventory with your estate planning documents, and then giving somebody the knowledge to access those documents or that inventory. So I think it's very key to make sure that you, first of all, know what you have, know what accounts you own, know what life insurance policies you have. My dad has a couple life insurance policies on me. He sat down with me when I graduated college and explained everything to me. So he didn't think I was mature enough for it until I was 22. Maybe other people aren't mature enough for it until they're 30. Or to the other extreme, maybe somebody at 16 is mature enough to receive that information. So it's not a one size fit all. It all depends on the circumstances of the family. But it's very key for you to know what you have.
Yeah, I think so. I think you know, when the circumstances permit, I think transparency is the best policy, in my opinion. I mean, if people know what to expect and why to expect certain things, you know, there may be rhyme or reason to that. Like we're not going to treat our children equally. You know, we're going to treat them equitably. Maybe one of the kids has worked in the business for 20 years, and so you know they're going to get the business to the exclusion of the other kids. But you know that's not equal, but it's equitable. You know, the other kids don't live here. The other kids haven't done that. You know, so I think just sharing reasons and you know what's going to happen and what to expect goes a long way when the circumstances permit.
Yeah, knowledge is power. And whenever you omit things from your beneficiaries, that's when it causes controversy between beneficiaries. It causes people to question whether or not you were of sound mind whenever you prepared your estate planning documents. I mean, if you let people know that there are reasons for why you've done certain things, that's going to reduce or possibly eliminate the possibility that somebody contests your documents in the future.
Right. I mean, it's hard to say that somebody didn't intend to do something when they've sat you down and said, this is what I intend to do.
Right. Right. And I think that's part of the transparency that you talked about is, you need to make sure that whoever's ultimately going to receive from you, they know that. They at least know that they're a player involved and they are aware of maybe what share they're going to get. And then inevitably, you have a disgruntled child that calls up the lawyer and says, "Why is mom doing this with her estate planning documents? That's not fair." Well, you're not the client, child. Sorry, you need to have mom call in if she's concerned about her estate planning documents. So I think you got to be transparent with your ultimate beneficiaries.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that's not always possible, I guess. If you're, like my kids are young or you have kids that spendthrifts or whatever the case may be, life circumstances don't always allow that. But when it does, I think it's beneficial. So it's always good to have documents that are clear and lay out your wishes pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's much better having something in place that no one knows about rather than having nothing at all. So another reminder, have your estate plan looked at. If you don't have one, it's very, very important for you to have one. I was happy to see, earlier this month, I had a very young couple come in, early 20s, and it made me really happy to see that people of that generation are uh, taking that step to move forward. And I think that's something lost with people my age. I mean, I don't know many that have an estate plan in place, but when tragedy strikes, it's very important to have it there.
Yep. We never know.
Yep.
Well, speaking of never know, it's coming up on Final Four weekend. Boy,
Yeah, I don't know how there's going to be a lot of empty seats in Houston. I'm afraid.
you think?
Yeah, it's not a big basketball market there. Maybe UConn, but other than that, I think those other three teams they'll probably have some people travel, but there's not going to be the nationwide following I think that previous Final Fours had. Most importantly is opening day tomorrow for the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, they're going to be good.
Mediocre at best. Might make the playoffs. We'll see.
It's all right. We're used to that.
Oh yeah, low expectations.
Well, I don't know. If somebody's got an extra ticket to Houston, I'd be glad to go if they want to send their plane. Make a weekend of it.
Yeah, I need out of the house. I think.
All right. Well, I think that's all I've got. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.
Yep. Thank you.